Welcome to the New Flat Rate Podcast, a podcast for contractors who need help increasing their service tickets, creating working processes, and building freedom in their life. Today's episode addresses something we've never really addressed before in the podcast, bottlenecking, and how to not be a bottleneck in your company. Plus, we're going to talk about some values. And now, your host, Danielle Putnam.
Hi, my name is Danielle Putnam. I'm the president of the New Flat Rate. And with me today is actually a good friend of mine, Tom Jackson from Jackson Systems. Tom, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's been a little while since I've done a podcast, so I'm excited to be doing one.
Very cool. It's not too old school. It's still a cool thing, actually.
It is very cool. It is very cool. So,
and joining us also is Elizabeth Wannemuehler. Is that correct?
Nailed it. Yes.
Very cool. Elizabeth and Tom. Tom, we'll start with you. If you don't mind just kind of telling us, I know who you are, but I'd like everybody to know who the heck is Tom.
All right. Well, I'm a very complicated man. No, I'm one of the owners of Jackson Systems here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Started a company with my parents 25 years ago. So we're pretty excited that we've made it 25 years. Most people know us. We're pretty specialized in HVAC controls, but we've been expanding over the last few years. And when we grow up and finally become a real company, we want to be we're actually going to split the company apart into a manufacturing company and a distribution company. So the distribution company is going to become a full line distributor.
Wow.
So yeah, we got a lot of things in the works, a lot of different things that we do. And it's been really an exciting time. So those that do know who we are, people think of us for zoning, and thermostats are kind of our real niche thing that we do. So if I'm sure we share a lot of the same clients, and most people know us because we'll imprint their name on their thermostat. And so, yeah, that's kind of what we're about.
I love that feature. You know, actually, Tom, I was Googling you earlier today because I knew we were going to call. And although we visited all the trade shows and, we say hello here and there a couple times a year and stuff, I was Googling just like, is there anything that I don't know about Tom? And I was watching an old video that was 8 years ago. You were talking about just Jackson Systems and thinking 8 years ago, I thought, what am I going to learn from back then versus now? And you were describing what your early day office was when you guys started Jackson Systems. You and your parents, they had a 3-bay garage, and one of the bays in the garage was one of the offices. And I didn't know that. I didn't know you guys were actually a garage founded company.
Yep. Literally the third car garage of my parents' house down in Greenwood, Indiana. And everyone gets a big kick out of it because like your father, my father is kind of he's extremely outgoing, and he gets really worked up, and he's always excited about anything dealing with controls. And I guess I'm kind of the same way. And our desk, we were in their third car garage, and we had 2 wood desks, and we faced each other. I mean, we could have reached across our desk and shook hands, and it was quite entertaining that we sat so close. And now we purposely sit on opposite ends of the building because we both can get loud and overwhelming, so they purposely moved us apart. So kind of funny.
That's funny, actually. Yeah. It's so applicable. Well, hold on, let me change that word. It's so relatable is a better word to those listening in today. I know so many of us in the service industry started in our garage, started from our home. And there's a lot of service providers out there that are still in their home and sometimes feel a little embarrassed of, how do I have employees come to my house? But it's awesome. I mean, that's how we started, right?
That's right. And yeah, absolutely. It's
in the core of a lot of us. We did too.
Yep. And got to start small and be profitable and focus on taking care of your clients. And whether you're working out of the third car garage, you're working in a 100,000 square foot building, it doesn't matter. Still focused on the same thing and taking care of our customers. So
that's right. It doesn't matter. Elizabeth, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what's your role at Jackson Systems, and how long have you been working with Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been at Jackson Systems for 4.5 years now. I've been our HR manager for the last year or so, but in the HR field for 3 years now. So it's been a pleasure to develop my career with the Jacksons and everyone else on board. And yeah, they put a lot of effort into growing me to where I am today.
Oh, that's cool. That's a nice way to say it. I liked it. You
Yeah,
call them
because
the Jacksons.
she did not come to us as a HR person, and she kind of moved into that role a little bit by default, and she took it upon herself to go get her, is it PHR? Is that the designation?
It's the SHRM.
SHRM.
Yeah.
So she's officially certified, and now she's growing her own department, and it's really exciting because we're at about 105 employees now, so we just broke over the 100 person mark, and so she's got her hands full.
I think I was employee 54 or something when I started 4.5 years ago. So we've nearly doubled since I came on board, which is awesome.
That's incredible. And in just 4 years too, that's actually real fast growth.
Yeah.
Neat.
Hey, quick reminder, wait till the end of the podcast for Storytime with Team FR. This week's Storytime features longtime consultant, entrepreneur, and technician, Matt Cope.
Well, today we are talking specifically about core values. And so to grow a company from the size of being in the garage and yelling and hollering at each other across the desk to 105 people, right? You guys are a force to be reckoned with. And that definitely took a lot of strategy, and you must have done some things right. And Tom, earlier you'd mentioned that you guys recently went through some big transformations. So can you tell me why do we want to talk about core values and help us to understand how this is so important to get it right for our business?
Sure. Well, I think I'm similar to probably a lot of the people listening today. I actually went to engineering school. I mean, I have no formal business training. I wasn't thinking about that when I was in college. I need to get my MBA or anything. Hey, I like doing math, and so I'll do the engineering thing. And even if I went to work with my parents, I thought, hey, I'm going to focus on developing products and technical support and all those things. I really wasn't thinking about it from a business standpoint. And when you're small, you can kind of muddle your way through pretty much anything. You buy a copy of QuickBooks and you fake it. You get an accountant to do your taxes, and that's it. And then, when you start adding employees and you realize you get to that first employee that you got to let go for whatever reason, that, it all of a sudden kind of starts hitting home that, I may be a technical person, but in reality, I've got the ship that I've got to sail, and I got to get it heading in the right direction. And I need to probably step away from answering every phone call and providing all the technical support and everything, and work on the vision. And so, a long time ago, way back in the early 2000s, we entered a contest, and I think they have the same program in all the states, Best Places to Work. And so we entered that, and we had won a few times. Basically when you win, technically you're a finalist. But the whole process of entering this Best Places to Work event, as you fill out this big the team members, all of your team members fill out this big survey, and then they compile those and see who did the best, is kind of how they determine the winner. Well, we would do this every year, and every year things would come back, and overall we did really, really well. We did a lot of things right, but there were always two areas that we just kind of fell on our face, and that was communications and direction of the company. So what's the long-term vision of the company? And that always hit me really, really hard. And I'm like, I don't have the skill set. I don't know how to. I always thought that I communicated really well, but obviously the team didn't think so. So that's I've got to solve that. It's my issue to solve. And then, what's the direction of the company? I show up every day early and we work really hard, but what are the big long-term goals? Where are we headed? So that the team felt like, they're part of this organization that's really pushing forward, and we can share Tom's vision, and we know that someday, I'll have the opportunity to advance and become a manager or become part of the executive team or whatever the case may be. And we never did that very well. And so we stumbled and stumbled. And when probably 3 years ago, I said, I got to figure something out. So I started searching, and what I found was, which probably some of your listeners have heard, is we found EOS, which stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And I know that Gino Wickman, the one that started that, actually spoke at Service Roundtable at the Service World. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see him, but I started reading about it and thinking, yeah, this is exactly what I need to develop this mission and this vision that I had. So we with EOS, with the Entrepreneur Operating System, you actually hire an implementer that comes in and walks you through the process. And so we had several meetings to make sure we thought it was a fit, and decided that, yeah, this was a direction we wanted to head as the leadership team. And we implemented it. And one of the big things out of EOS is the development of your core values. And we used that process to come up with those. And the other really great thing, and I know this is not a podcast on EOS, so I don't want to dwell on it too long. The other really cool thing is how all the information flows within your company. So that also really helped with the communication side of the issues that we always scored low on. And they do it through a very methodical meeting structure. And not only does the leadership team have these meetings, your product development team has these meetings, your customer service team has these meetings. And if you opt, which we do, there's software that's called 90.io that actually runs those meetings for you. And the really cool thing is all those different meetings are linked together, and you can share information. And as you can guess, as we've gotten bigger and bigger, sharing, if you're sharing a little bit of information across 6 employees, that's fairly simple. But when you get to 100, and we have employees that live in other states now, it becomes almost impossible to do it if you don't have a system. So that EOS system really solved the communication thing. But more importantly, and what we're here to talk about today, is the development of our core values. And they walk you through that, developing the core values. We had come up with our own core values and mission statements and all this, and it was like a 4-page document. And it was overwhelming. No one knew what it was. Everyone forgot about it. We didn't hit any of the goals. It was just a mess. So we said, we got to do something simple. So our core values fit on this little card here. I don't know if you can see me holding that up, but we have 6 core values. And if you're good to go, we can start talking through those. Or
hang on.
All right.
So I cannot wait to get to those, and I can drum roll to build up the suspense. But there's 2 things in particular that you hit on, and I wanted to make sure that we didn't slide over those 2 lightly.
Sure.
One is, when you're in a position like Tom and even myself, we started in the garage days, and so many entrepreneurs in the trade started as a service technician in the truck, and then they became a business owner, right? And then they hired their first employee, just like you. Business is business. We started small, we slowly began to grow, and then we didn't know how to flow all of the information. We didn't know how to set up something like EOS. And so you, as successful as you are, and you have these, mechanical engineering type degrees, and math, even you needed help to implement that, right? If I can say that, and because it's easy to think, oh, no, I can do it. But yet even Tom Jackson went and hired a coach to say, hey, let's make sure that we do this right. And I think that speaks volumes to you as an entrepreneur and wanting growth and wanting the best for your employees and your team and your company. And I want to encourage anybody that's listening in today, if there's an area that you're stuck in, especially that's already been developed by somebody else, don't be afraid to hire somebody to help make that easier for you. So the one is, that whole EOS thing and how information flows. And the second was hire the coach if you need to. I thought that was really important. And thanks for being vulnerable enough to share that with us, because sometimes I think we as the business owners, we are often the bottleneck. Everybody has to come to us, and then we think, hey, I have to change our software. I have to set up these systems. I have to do all this. because we were startup phase and we now know everything in the business. We know all the roles. We've worn all the hats. Before Elizabeth was on your team, you probably sat in that seat. And so you know how to do it. And then you become the bottleneck because, oh, I can just do that, right? And it keeps us small. As the owner, when we're the bottleneck all the time, it really stunts growth. So I love how that was such a part of your big transformation. Thanks for sharing.
And just so you know as well, I mean, we actually had a couple of false starts with EOS because we had change on our leadership team. We had our director of sales leave, and we had the person that was in the role before Elizabeth. She ended up leaving. So we've had a few false starts, and for it to be really successful, you got to have everyone on your leadership team in agreement how we're pushing forward. And when someone leaves and you bring someone new in that doesn't know the process, we kind of had to take a few steps back as we were pushing forward. And that was fine with me. I mean, obviously I would have liked to have implemented it sooner, but it was what it was. And we said, hey, Elizabeth's coming on the team. We need to get together again with EOS and that process. So she's comfortable with it, especially Elizabeth, because she's such a key point of getting across our core values to our team and to prospective people who we're hopefully going to be hiring. So anyway, just for what that's worth, just don't get frustrated if you can't get it implemented right away and you have to reset and go back at it again. We did that 3 times. So
yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's so honest, right? It's tough. It's tough. And so as business leaders, it's easy to feel like we have to have it all together, and it takes time, and having your key people in place is important. So let's talk about these 6 core values. I have them here in front of me, and I love that you have them on a card. Do all your employees have that card?
They sure do. Yep.
We give it to them on their first day so they can always be reminded, which is nice. It's nice to have it in a little compact area that they don't have to forget.
Yeah. Well, will you walk us through? Elizabeth, Are you walking us through them, or Tom?
I think we're going to tag team it.
Yep. I'll just let me read down through the 6, and then we can talk a little bit about each one and hit them. Our 6 core values here at Jackson Systems are start with people first. Number 2 is just own it. Number 3, solve problems at their core. Number 4, never stop learning. Number 5, demand excellence, not perfection. And number 6, work hard while having fun. So I don't think most people would find any of those earth-shattering, and believe me, it was when we went through this process, it was painful. We had some people that didn't agree with the direction we were heading, including our implementer that we hired. He didn't like the direction we were heading, and we weren't sure what to do again. But when we finally all got together as the leadership team again, we're like, no, this is what we are about. And if we can live by these 6 core values, we know we're going to be successful. So the first one is start with people first. We had to put that one number 1 because we said start with people first. So that one was easy when we were putting them in order. We said we got to put that one number 1 because we said that's the first thing. So and as an owner, I have to be really careful because I get passionate about the products and all the little details of what goes on in a business, but that's really not what matters to the team. This is while they like working here, this is probably a tool for them to do the things that are really important in their life. So I always want to make sure that I'm not so focused on, hey, we need to do this with this product. I need to focus on, hey, how was your day? How can we help you achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve? And I think Elizabeth will agree that one of the things that I always tell everyone, if they get an opportunity to go to a different company because something's presented themselves, I want to be the first to congratulate them and help them in that transition to that new opportunity. I don't want to be a roadblock for anyone. I want to be a stepping stone. And we've had, several people. The perfect example I get is Kurt Wessling, who's a dear friend, worked for us for a long time. He got the opportunity. He wanted to move. Him and his wife wanted to move to Florida, and we were actually 100% supportive of Kurt finding that opportunity in Florida. And, he's actually since moved on again, and he's doing extremely well. And I'm glad that we had that small part in his progression professionally, so that, his passion was, or his thing was getting to Florida. So I hope that we were, a small part in that. So
that's a big deal.
Excuse me.
That's a big deal. And it's great that you can celebrate with him, and you were a piece of that.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. What would you like to add to that, Elizabeth?
I think what you said is exactly correct. But in addition to starting with people first, when we are recruiting, we're never looking for somebody to fill a position. We're never looking for positions to be filled necessarily. We're looking for people to grow our team with. So maybe the candidate doesn't have the exact experience that we're needing, but they have a killer attitude that we know would make a great impact on our team. So I think this core value just reminds me when I'm recruiting from that standpoint of I'm looking for the people to join our team, and then knowing that they would be backed by a company who could help advance their career professionally or help them grow personally as well.
Yeah. Hey, if I can interject and just slide this in real quick, is there a platform that you're finding works best right now in your recruiting efforts? Like, where are you finding your people? Everybody always just wants to know.
Anywhere that I can. We do a lot on LinkedIn. Honestly, some of our best candidates come from referrals. So we actually have little referral cards. I wish I had one out where we give to all of our employees. So if they're out at a restaurant and they have a waiter or waitress that is awesome, or maybe they're at Lowe's and the customer service rep there is incredible helping them, they can hand them this referral card that will give them a direct line to my number, and we can talk to them about any open positions. So that's actually been something that's been really helpful for us.
Yeah, they're guaranteed an interview. So if you find someone that you think do a really good job, if you give them that card, they are guaranteed a conversation with Elizabeth. So it makes the people feel really, really great.
Special.
As well.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big deal when right now there's a pile of applicants, all over the place. And I know people that are trying to get jobs right now, and they're like, oh, I never get a call back. So being guaranteed an interview at a great company, that's a brilliant idea. And I hope people wrote that down right now. Like, it's a really great tip. So thanks for sharing that. Okay, carry on. Core value number 2.
Number 2 is own it. And, we want everyone to feel like they're empowered here, that they can make a decision, and that, whatever role that they have, that's their own little mini company within the bigger company. And if you need to make a decision to take care of a client, or, whatever the scenario might be, that you'll take responsibility and you'll do what's in the best interest of your team or the best interest of the customer. And that as a leadership team, we've got your back. And if you make that decision and you're owning the situation, we're going to support you. Even if something goes astray and maybe it wasn't the best decision, if in your heart you were doing what you felt was the right thing, we're going to be 100% supportive if you actually are taking ownership of whatever your role is.
Good.
So anything there, Elizabeth?
No, I think you nailed it. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, that was always the toughest one, I think, to describe. But I think everybody talks about, you gotta own it or whatever. But I think the big thing for us is knowing that even if you make a wrong decision, if you're focused on what's best for whatever the scenario is, we're going to support you. We can recuperate from almost anything. So we're going to learn from it and do better next time.
Yeah, that's so good. And it works in the positive and the negative, in that, like John Maxwell calls it, for our leadership perspective, the leadership principle of empowerment, right? Empowering your people.
Yep.
And then when they are empowered, whether they make the right choice or the wrong choice, it allows your company to have freedom to grow.
Sure.
You have to empower your people, and that's how we all learn. And then when they can be empowered and take responsibility over their job position, then they're going to do the best ability that they can. And that's, gives real freedom for growth. It's a great one.
Yep. The next one is solve problems at their core. this is one that's heavily driven by our COO, Carl. And I'm guilty of this myself. We've always been, if there's a problem arise, say we misship something to a customer, we're going to do whatever it takes to take care of the customer. We're going to next day air it at our cost, whatever, all those things that you hear. Mm-hmm. But you can't stop there with just taking care of the customer. What caused us to misship that? I mean, we got to get to the bottom of whatever the actual issue is. And like I mentioned, Carl, he's very good at driving all of us to, we got to get to the root cause, because we don't want to happen again. And as we grow, that magnifies itself. If we don't solve whatever the real problem is at its core and it happens again, now we've got a bigger customer base and there's more opportunities for it to happen more frequently. So we got to keep driving down until we figure out really why it was. And maybe there's a glitch in the software, or there's a process that we're not following exactly correct. But whatever it is, we got to figure it out and, nail it shut so it doesn't resurface, so that, we've got even a better experience for our team and for our customers. So.
Yeah, I think we had an issue of putting a Band-Aid over things instead of getting down to the root, like Tom was saying, of what actually was going on. So I think as we continue to grow, it's going to help us tremendously, and something that we're consistently going to be working towards. But it's just doing our due diligence for our customers and for our internal employees as well, to say, hey, we're going to work on making sure we're getting to the root of the problem so we can continue to get better each day.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Elizabeth, never stop learning. I'm going to let you take this one.
Yeah, well, I think you and your dad especially are great examples of this within our company. We want people who take the initiative to continue to grow their knowledge, whether that's technical knowledge. We can train. I know Ron would love to train on products and things all day long, and that's absolutely something we can provide. Or if people want to grow professionally or personally, we want to bring on people who are inquisitive and like to learn new things. And really, when I'm talking to new hires about this one, I especially note that we want people to never stop learning from their mistakes as well. So just because you mess up doesn't mean it's the end of the world, but what did we learn from it and how can we grow from it?
That's such a good way to manage.
Yeah. And we encourage, like Elizabeth, she got her SHRM degree, and we've had lots of others go through formal trainings and everything from, MBAs to certifications. So there's also the formal trainings that you might think of, but as Elizabeth alluded to, there's this higher level learning that we want to focus on as well. So
mm-hmm.
The next one, demand excellence and not perfection. Perfection is far too expensive, so we will be happy with excellence. We know that we're going to make mistakes and we're not going to do everything 100% right all the time, but we have got to strive to do the very best we can. And, we have all these benchmarks that we use now. As we've grown, we've been able to get a little bit more sophisticated in how we track things. Mm-hmm. But, we always, when we go and talk with a customer or with one of our vendors or one of our allies like yourself in the industry, we hope that the impression that they get from us is that we do work really hard to do things right. Mm-hmm. We're never going to be perfect. I think that's only left to God. And but we do expect it out of our team members. Mm-hmm. And we've come a long way in that realm. It used to be where there wasn't any accountability. And if there's no accountability, demanding excellence gets really tough. And we've changed that even through this implementation of EOS and our core values. It doesn't come as a shock to anyone when your manager or whoever comes and speaks to you about an issue we're having, and we can go right to our core values. Hey, did you really do the very best job that you could? Were you demanding excellence of yourself? So it's allowed us to have some of those typically more uncomfortable conversations by just, hey, when we hired you, we talked about these. And so I'm sure Elizabeth's got some additional thoughts there.
Yeah, I think a lot of our core values kind of go hand in hand. So owning it, solving problems at their core. And this I just use as a reminder for myself of, yes, we've got some high expectations for our team. We want accountable people. We want inquisitive people. We want all of these things, but we're not asking you to be perfect. We're not asking you to not make mistakes, but we have some really excellent people on our team. And that's really a good standard, I think, to use when hiring and looking for those type of employees.
Yeah, because we're human. So that really brings that human element into that. So this is a good list. And you guys did a good job coming up with your list.
We got one more. Work hard while having fun. And so we have a very jovial group of team members here. There is always lots of kidding, lots of pranks, lots of silliness going on. And I think it culminates once a year. We actually take the entire company for 2 days down to one of the riverboat casinos here in Indiana. Wow. And we pay for their hotel and for their significant other, and provide them all these wonderful meals and free drinks. And like this past one, we went skeet shooting and went to a winery. And so that actually becomes the talk of the company for every year, that this opportunity for us all to get together and kind of loosen up a little bit. So we're all about having fun. We like to, Elizabeth's my partner in crime. Every other month or so we'll find some silly snack to give away. Like 2 weeks ago we did Dairy Queens. I went and bought all the Buster bars, Billy bars, and I find some silly song on iTunes and blast the music and go down the hallway, and everybody comes running. It's like when we were little kids and here the ice cream man.
Like the ice cream truck.
Yeah. So
Mom's our ice cream fairy.
Nice.
Yeah. And I'll also say our culture here is very informal. I mean, we really, I'll say we don't even really have a dress code. Within reason. We're not, it's most people just show up and have a good time, and we encourage you talking to your team members, and we just try to make it fun. So we know our team spends a lot of time here every year, and it's got to be someplace that you're not dreading getting up in the morning coming to. So plus I give we have snacks. Elizabeth used to man she was in charge of the snacks, and she'd put like oranges and apples and all that. And then
my kind of snacks.
COVID hit, I took over. So now we have like Pop-Tarts and Doritos. So
all the good stuff.
So it's always a mad dash to the snack bar whenever they know I'm over there. So
that's hysterical. Did you guys? Well, speaking of COVID, did you guys work from home and kind of change work? You did.
We did. Yeah. We got really lucky in that before COVID hit, we had actually switched to or started using Microsoft Teams. So we were already, because we were in the growth mode. We had a few remote, out of the state of Indiana. Denise, who well, used to work for us. She lived in Texas. We had a gentleman that's down in Tennessee. And so we needed a better communication method anyway, because we had, remote workers. And it just so happened that since we already had that in place when COVID hit, we sent most people home that could, since the manufacturing side of the company, they have to, you got to be present to do the stuff.
Totally.
But anybody we could send home, a lot of our team members have their own office, so they were pretty safe. So we didn't have a huge interruption, but at the same time, we've had pretty rapid growth, and we have maxed out our building. We have no more room, so we had to send our sales team home permanently to work from home. We've got space that when they want to come in for a meeting or whatever, they can definitely do that, but we're out of room. So it all kind of worked out okay, because we were in the process of having to do that anyway. So.
Yeah. Hey, this is separate from core values, but just talking about business growth. Like, would you mind sharing, do you kind of have a strategy or thought in mind for your plan, are you going to continue to hire remote workers, or do you think you'll end up looking for a bigger building at some point?
Well, yes and yes. So we're definitely going to continue to hire. The sales team, I think, will remain working from home or remote, and we're going to be adding sales team members all across the country. But as I think I mentioned earlier, we are, even though it's formally started, next year, the distribution side of the company is going to be their own separate company called Jackson Systems. Our manufacturing is called IOHVAC, and they do have a little bit of shared resources. They do share HR and some accounting stuff, but we are going to 100% break them apart. They'll be in separate buildings. My folks and I will still own them, but they will be isolated 100% from one another. So we're going to have another building just because we're going to move all the manufacturing and everything over there anyway. So, and it'll be a bigger facility than what we have now, because we're going to be bringing in some heavy machinery and all that. So,
yeah,
fingers crossed. Anyway, that's the plan.
Yeah, I can see you're moving in that direction. That's neat. Cool. And I didn't mean to cut you off earlier, Elizabeth. Do you remember
that's okay.
When we were talking about working hard and having fun?
Yeah, I think it's easy for us to talk about all the fun stuff that we do, like the happy hours and events and things. But when I'm bringing on new employees, I like to also mention that are you making it an enjoyable place for your coworkers? Are you someone that they like to go to ask questions? Or are you someone that they dread talking to? So that's something that I always remind employees to when they're looking at these yes, it's a fun place to work, but are you contributing to that culture as well?
Yeah.
So just to kind of go off what Tom was saying.
Yeah, good point. And that's helpful. I had a team member that is not with us anymore. That was a great team member, but when this person chose to leave, they said, I just don't like working with people. And at your company, you have to work with people because we are a very team environment. And so it was a very amicable departure, right? And we wish that person the very best. But that was just the reality is we work together. And we want to do the same thing is make it easy to work amongst ourselves, right? But if you want solo work, then you got to find a job that's solo work.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, oh, you don't like working with people. Interesting. So I like how you bring that up in the interview process. It's important.
Yeah.
You guys have done just such a great job with these core values, and I can see that you could tie back to them. So do you find yourself when you're training and running training meetings, or even just in maybe employee evals, how are you constantly tying back to your core values and its use as a guiding light?
Absolutely. So we do quarterly check-ins with our employees, and each of them are measured based off of these 6 core values. So in each section, a manager will look at an employee's performance and say, are they owning their position? Are they solving problems at their core? Are they demanding excellence of themselves? And they're really rated based on those core values. So it's something that, one, they know what they're being measured against, and two, they know where they have to grow to as well. So I think it's something that we've done a good job. Tom mentioned we had a mission and vision statement that we would have people recite off at a quarterly meeting, and they're like, I've never seen this before. Where did this come from? So our goal is that everyone knows what our core values are and has their own individual card in case they forget. And each quarter they'll be reminded of, what an ideal employee would look like for our team.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Elizabeth, how do you implement that when you're doing recruiting?
So I actually will either wait for an employee to reference a core value organically. Sometimes they've done research on us before. Other times I look at situations that they're discussing. Do they talk about learning more? Do they talk about owning it? If not, I'll ask them directly, like, can you tell me about a time that you took ownership? Can you tell me about a time of this or that? So if we have 2 candidates that we're really trying to decide between, I'll kind of measure who meets more of our core values naturally. And then the other ones, what else we can train on. So it's something that are really ingrained in my brain that as we're out hiring people, I'm listening for those key things of, I love to learn, or I always take ownership, and that sort of thing are really what we're looking for.
Neat. You guys have really provided a lot of value today and encouraged even myself, and I know so many of our listeners, the importance of going back to our core values. And what would you say to tweaking and changing and testing core values along the way? Say I don't have any core values today, and then I want to go make some, but I'm afraid that, well, what if I get them wrong? Can you change them?
Well, I think the answer is yes, you could change them, but it would be something you wouldn't do very often. And with the EOS process, when you're going through your initial round of meetings, you spend a lot of time on those to get them right. So, because you don't want to have a false start. Believe me, we've had enough false starts. If you can get them right, it'll have a huge impact. And if I would have known about EOS when, I was younger, or when we were at 20 employees versus trying to figure it out when we were at 60 or 70 employees, it would have been so much better. So I think, as with most things, if you spend a little extra time up front, it's going to have a huge impact, because there are other things within the EOS process. On the back of the card, there's also what they call the purpose, cause, passion, your niche, and your 10-year targets, which are like big sales goals. Those are more likely to change from year to year, maybe every 3 years. But the core values, I think you would want to try to avoid changing those. And the cool thing is with the EOS process, and again, I'm not sure why I'm pitching EOS so much. Since you've got someone that you work with, they help guide you through that to make sure that when you're all done with them, everyone on your leadership team is in agreement that these really are our core values. So,
and it's called core values for a reason, because it's going back to the core of your business, right? Yeah. And that's who you are as a company. So making sure that as you disperse out, that core remains solid makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you guys have really brought a lot of value. I appreciate what you've had to say. I appreciate all 6 of your core values. I can tell that you did do that front work and that strategy and planning to find out what it would be that you guys want to drive forward. So thank you for sharing that. Yep. Is there anything, maybe any products that you're excited about right now, or any books you're reading you could share with us before we end our time together? Any nuggets and extras and bonuses?
Yep. Well, as far as products, and the thing that I'm most excited about right now is we have a filter fulfillment program for contractors, where we ship the filters on the contractor's behalf to homeowners. And we've actually developed a little website plugin so that contractors can literally get the code from us. They dump it into their website, and now they have a filter store in which we do all the back-end fulfillment for them. We do all the credit card processing, and we're super excited about that. This is about the 3rd iteration of this whole filter fulfillment program, and I think this is finally the one that's going to work the best. So that's kind of something I'm pretty pumped about. As far as books go, and I'll just continue the pitch of EOS, there are 3 books within the EOS series that I would recommend. And the first one I read was actually called Get a Grip. This is a story about a company that implemented EOS. So it's kind of a fictional story that talks about how they were struggling and the processes that they went through and implementing EOS. And, it covers their leadership team, and they had to let someone go and someone quit, how they developed all that. That's called Get a Grip. That's by Gino Wickman, who's the gentleman that developed EOS. The actual book is the actual EOS book. This is the actual textbook that, like, if it was a college course, this was the book that they would issue, called Traction. It's a little drier. It's a little more tactical. So it's got all the flow charts and all the different things that you need. So that's the other book. And then what we give out to all of our employees, which I'm glad they did this, there's a book called What the Heck is EOS? And this is a handbook for the employees. So it's real short. It's got big font. It's the kind of book that I like to read because I'm a horrible reader. I'm so slow. So this is the book that we give out to all the new employees so that they're kind of on board with EOS, because I think it probably takes some of the team members back. They're like, wait a minute, I'm going to be in some like leadership meeting type of thing where they're actually tracking all this information and they actually want my input. So that is a good book for your team members when they jump on board with us, and we give them one of those. So anyway, that's the book plug. I hope Gino Wickman is listening, so I get my commission from this podcast that I wasn't expecting to do, but
those are really great recommendations. Thank you for that. I have read Traction, but now I'm going to jump online and order those other two. Hey, as we started this talk, I grabbed a book off my shelf that is also on my reading list, and it's Dina Dwyer Owen's Values. Many of you may be familiar with the franchise company Neighborly, and to them, it's such a large company, and they have, I'm going to botch this number if I say, do they have 13 different verticals or more now in their franchises? Yeah. I can't even say it. So they've got a lot of different verticals. But for them to be such a huge, successful company, to consider core values to be so important, they wrote a book about it. That says a lot to me too. Yeah. And getting this right, as Tom said, is really worth stepping back right now, wherever you're at in your company, and looking at your core values and making sure that you get it right now so that you're better prepared for growth in the future.
Yeah. And that's, they do take, I know the Neighborly takes their core values very serious. I've been to several of their meetings, and it's impressive. The other thing is she was actually on Undercover Boss. I don't know if you ever saw that episode.
I did.
She's out there cutting grass. And
I'm a big fan, actually. I think she's just incredible.
Yeah.
I love her values and her family commitment and, her religious commitment. She's a devout Catholic. She goes to Mass every day. Here she is. And she's now since, I don't know her current title right now, but she's like a chief visionary, and she's moved on, out of her day-to-day role in the company. But even when she was running the company, just her commitment and her habits, I've always been a big fan. She's impressive.
The other great thing about their company is it's in Waco, Texas, which is where the Dr. Pepper Museum is. So my older brother that works for us is like the world's largest Dr. Pepper fan. So
I didn't know that.
Go to the Dr. Pepper Museum, and it's also where Magnolia is, which is where, what's their name, Elizabeth? Chip and Joanna Gaines. Yeah, Chip and Joanna.
The Gaines.
Yes.
Too funny.
Well, I'm writing all this down to remember all that. Next time I visit, I'm going to stop in to say hi.
Go to the Dr. Pepper Museum.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hey, it's been such a pleasure hanging out with you guys today and having a conversation. I appreciate you taking the time to share with us just your learnings and your story and your journey. It's fascinating, and really excited to see, this next season as you guys are splitting and going more directions and growing, and it's really exciting.
Definitely exciting for sure. It's a little scary at times, but it's very exciting. So why we're in business.
That's right. It's awesome. A book that I really like is Shoe Dog, the Phil Knight Nike story. And at the end of that book, something that he says, and I quote this to myself all the time, he says, as entrepreneurs, at the end of the journey, we look back and we wish we could do it all again. It's like this struggle all the time to be an entrepreneur. But, sometimes it's like, those early days were nice, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't mind doing it all again. I just need the knowledge that I have now when I start over.
Totally. Yep. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much, Elizabeth. It was fun having you on here. Tom, thanks so much. Fun having you. Yep. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, I'm sorry, what's the best point of contact?
My email address is tom.jackson@jacksonsystems.com. So tom.jackson@jacksonsystems.com.
And I saved everyone the hardship of having to write my last name. So mine is just Elizabeth@jacksonsystems.com.
Yeah, I still have no idea how to spell her last name.
It's okay.
Awesome. Cool. Well, hey, thanks so much. Right. It's been a pleasure.
Yep. Welcome to Storytime with TNFR. Now it's time for Matt.
So what does it mean to be a small business anyway? Well, if we Google the term, we'll see that a small business is classified from any company that ranges from 100 to 1,500 employees. Many of you might have not hit that category yet, and it's okay. You might be in the category of a startup or a mom and pop, and that's all right as well. And if we go back to the basics, we're going to find that many of us, we have a skill. Whether that skill was that you were good at baking, so you wanted to start a bakery, or that you were good at fixing things, whether that was electrical, plumbing, masonry work, air conditioning. Whatever your skill was, you probably started a business because your friends and relatives started telling you, wow, if you opened your own shop, I would use you every time. And you know what? Some of them did, and that was a great thing. However, you found really quickly that we couldn't only live off of friends and relatives using our services. And so you had to start advertising. And many of us didn't know where to start. So you might have hired some big advertising companies to help you, but it was expensive and it took a lot of time. And you might have said, you know what, I can do this myself, and just went and knocked on doors and passed out flyers. Good for you. But whatever it is, in your startup stage, you probably did it based on hard work. And as your business has begun to grow and the years have went past, some of you have started thinking new things, like, when does it end? How do I get out? What's the next step for me? And you know what? Helping small business owners, from the mom and pop shops to the contractors to the entrepreneurs, helping those small business owners put in place contingency plans and exit strategies is where we excel. If you struggle to answer the question, what's next for me? Give us a call.
So if you'd like to know how to build more freedom in your business, go to myfbu.com. Don't forget to email Tom Jackson or check out their website at jacksonsystems.com. Happy New Year, and hope you enjoyed this episode.